Welcome to Women in the Middle Entrepreneurs, the podcast that gives you an unfiltered, behind-the-scenes look at what it's really like being a woman in the middle who's over 50 and following her entrepreneurial dreams. Grab a superhero cape, girlfriend, because you deserve one. I'm your host, Master Certified Life Coach and Midlife Mentor, Suzy Rosenstein, and I am excited to inspire you with interviews that feature all of this midlife amazingness. Let's go. Hey there, welcome back to the show. We have another really exciting interview ahead of us about teaching yoga and mindful solutions for menopause. Today, you're going to be meeting Cheryl Gordon, a woman in the middle entrepreneur who's building an online business that provides online resources to midlife women who wish to sleep better, feel stronger, and lose weight. Welcome to the show, Cheryl. Thanks so much for joining us today.
I'm just so excited to be here, Suzy. I can't wait to have this conversation.
It's going to be fun. I know it's going to be fun. I really appreciate that you are joining us today and hopped on with me. I know we're going to have a really fun conversation about your midlife entrepreneur story. We're going to be talking about your business and what's going really well, and also what midlife issues might be creeping in and getting in your way to some extent and might be challenging for you in your life or as a business owner. And I start with the same question all the time. It's a nice, juicy one. You can tell your story however you want. How old are you? How long have you been an entrepreneur? And what is that you do in the world? So take it away.
I am 62 years old. I've been an entrepreneur since I was 21 in various capacities. And right now, I'm very, very committed to broadening my reach by starting an online business so that I can help more women navigate through maybe the third chapter of their lives with more elegance and power and effectiveness.
Elegance. Oh, my.
Well, I think we like to be elegant, right? We deserve that at our age.
Oh, man. That is the best word. I do not feel elegant these days. So that's great. Actually, I had my girlfriend visiting me in the summer, and I had been on a cruise last year. And on the cruise, they had one of those, what do they call them? Like a pajama silent disco. That's what it was. A pajama party crossed with a silent disco. So I was not excited about this at all. And I'm like, what the heck am I going to wear? I need some kind of casual pajama looking something that's for public. What the heck? So I ordered, I guess they call it loungewear now. I would have called it pajamas, but it was something that looked presentable and didn't look like I was crawling out of bed. So I wore it. So then in the summer, my girlfriend saw me wearing that and she's like, oh my God, you look so fancy. I'm like, fancy? What do you mean? Just because it was more of an outfit. So maybe that's as elegant as I've been lately.
Well, it sounds gorgeous.
And I bought two. I bought a different color as well. So I'm very, I'm all set up now for a silent disco in public. So tell me, you said you're starting a digital or you're going online. What were you doing before?
Well, I ran the most recent business, bricks and mortar business I had was I ran a yoga studio. And I did sell it, and that's maybe part of the thing we'll talk about today. I did sell it, luckily before the pandemic hit. But I was teaching there and I had some corporate contracts. But of course, once the pandemic hit, everything shut down and everything changed. So I was kind of wondering maybe I should retire because I am of an age where that is appropriate to do. And I tried that. I tried to just go on vacation or, be a gym bunny or do the things, lunch with the ladies or something, which were all so much fun. I can't say I didn't have fun, but there was this little whisper, like, I'm not done yet. I think I still have stuff to say. So I didn't want to start another bricks and mortar business. I wanted more flexibility and I wanted to broaden the reach because I am niching down now to talk to women like us who are interested in making a contribution in the third chapter of their lives. And so I thought, yeah, bricks and mortar would limit me too much. Online, I can niche down and really broaden my reach. So that's been my focus for 2025 so far.
In your notes, you mentioned that it was your dream to own bricks and mortar, to own a yoga studio. Mm-hmm. What was it about that decision that was so appealing to you?
Oh, I was actually, the previous job before that I was in a travel company, which was fun. But I felt that I'd kind of taken that company as far as it could go without a major major infusion of capital, or the market that I was in was changing. And I had been taking yoga classes and getting more serious about studying yoga philosophy and that sort of thing. And I just felt this really strong, I hesitate to use this word because it's kind of schmarmy, but this calling, but it really was like that. Like, I just really wanted to teach. I really wanted to deepen my practice. I really wanted to share how yoga made me feel with other people. And this was 20 years ago, 25 years ago. Online businesses weren't what they are now. Bricks
No,
and
not at
mortar
all.
was the way to go.
Right.
And of course, being a business person fundamentally, I realized that teaching contract classes for other people wasn't really going to add up to a full-time income. Opening my own doors was where that was going to happen. So it still is my dream to share the teachings of yoga. It's just the vehicle's changing as the times change.
Yeah, things really did change. And then COVID comes along. And I guess, I don't know, was it obvious to you early in the COVID experience that you were going to have to close down, or was it a decision that you struggled with?
Well, I wasn't in charge at that point. I had sold the studio. I was working for the current owner. So it was all on her shoulders. I was kind of happy not to have to deal with that because I don't know if you remember, but it was a freaking nightmare
It, oh, it,
for everybody.
nobody knew what to do. It was just
Yeah.
it was the
And you didn't know
unknown.
how long it was gonna last, so, we were trying I had never done a Zoom call yet at that point.
Right.
So we're doing Facebook Lives, and we're trying all this stuff, and, so anyway, it just kind of came out that this is what was going to happen, and I basically 3 years moved my classes online and started dabbling in the online world. So I got my feet wet with online marketing and Zoom and that sort of thing. So
Uh-huh. Okay. And then what was different about 2025 that you're ready to go all in?
Well, 2024, I lost 25 pounds, which when you're only 5'1" and 3/4, and I have always been active and always tried to eat right. I mean, I'm a yogi kind of person. So the menopausal weight, menopause, by the way, hit the first year of COVID. So
Mm.
it was like, and I was old. I was 57 when I hit that. So that was kind of brutal. Social isolation, wicked hot flashes, no one, not access to medical care. Like it was a perfect storm. So anyway, we got through all of that, but the weight had come on, as it does for so many of us when we go into that transition. And I felt it was very unfair because I was doing all the things. And so in 2024, I made a commitment to myself that I would figure out how to lose the weight. I wasn't willing to cut out carbohydrates or go on some sort of calorie restriction where I wasn't allowed to ever have birthday cake again or things like that. So that I discovered this idea of mindful eating. And it was a lot of thought work. It was a lot of journaling. It was a lot of self-compassion. It was a lot of planning so that I made sure that my needs were taken care of even on the busiest days, things like that. And so then I was just, can I tell you the whole story?
Yeah, of course.
Um, so we were actually camping in a 100 square foot trailer in Florida when I started this in early 2024. I had no scale. And nothing against Florida. I love Florida, but they have deep fried everything. So,
And huge portions.
eating healthy in the woods in this tiny trailer. I mean, you had to kind of think about it. But so anyway, I didn't know if it was working because a lot of my camping clothes were like stretchies anyway, right? I didn't really know if all this stuff was working, but I was a couple months in, I was starting to really feel a lot stronger internally. I really liked the dialogue I was having with myself. I was addressing some long-term anxiety issues that I didn't even really register, but I realized they were driving me to do things like emotionally eat. So I was feeling really good. And then I thought, I wonder if I'm actually losing weight. Oh, I don't know. Is this worth it? So we were in a thrift store, which are so much fun in Florida. And there was a scale. So I stepped on the scale and I called my husband and I said, come here. You got to see this. And I'm surprised they didn't hear me whooping all the way up here in Niagara because I was down 5 pounds. I was like, oh my God. So I was pretty excited. And then I started thinking about the process that had led to losing a few pounds. And I know it doesn't sound like a lot on the surface, but to me, it was huge. And maybe to some listeners, if they've been struggling with weight and they're tired of seeing the scale go down a pound and back up 3 pounds and down half a pound and up 4 pounds, because that's the way mine was going.
Sure.
It's just so demoralizing. So I thought, what else could I do with this methodology? Like, where else could I take my life? By now I'm 61. What could I? And I thought, I've always had this thought that historically, the businesses that I've run were never quite as successful as I'm smart enough and I work hard and never really reflected what I'm capable of. And I thought, do you want to try, girlfriend? Shall we give it a kick at the can at our old age? And so that's where 2025 came in. I had a goal setting kind of protocol that had worked for me before. And I thought, let's apply the weight loss methodology to building an online business. And you can really apply this mindfulness stuff, as you very well know, Suzy, as a life coach. You can apply this to whatever your dreams and goals are, no matter your age.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's such a gift we gave ourselves to learn this stuff and then to share with other people because it's mind-blowing. So, did you buy the scale?
No. No, I just stepped on it,
And
yelled a bit,
it just gave
moved
you the
on.
encouragement to keep going.
Yeah.
Oh, that's beautiful. That's a funny little story. I love it.
Oh, I'm glad.
So, how would you say midlife is getting in your way? So, one of the things the most exciting thing I love to talk about on this show is talking about how midlife challenges get in the way of how midlife gals like us are trying to run our businesses on purpose. What kind of things are popping up for you?
Well, there's a number of things. First of all, you have to, as a midlife woman, deal with the symptoms of the life change. So the hot flashes. I remember when I was trying to teach yoga. Luckily, it was online, so no one could see the amount of sweat pouring down my body. But I know that that's a huge challenge. It interferes with our sleep, it zaps our energy and our confidence. So I had to reach out and got medical help for that. The other thing is because of the journey through perimenopause, which can last 10 to 15 years prior to the actual change, your sleep is often really impacted. And so that eroded my confidence. And in terms of, can I afford to take on this challenge? Will I have the energy to keep up whatever it is that's in front of me? So I've had to, now that I'm through the worst of it, got some medical help, sleeping better, now I have to work through the mindset that I'm weak or not confident to take on things. Will I be able to put in a full workday at my age? Do I have the energy for that? Then, the brain fog that comes with the transition. Um, will I be able to learn new things? Will I be able to retain new information? And the pace, as you know, of technology and change right now is dizzying. Even if
Sure
you have it
is.
down this week, you won't by next week. So it's not as though I can learn this and then say, okay, good, check mark. Like when we were in our 20s and 30s, you did a course in something and then it was okay.
Yeah,
Now,
you were good for you're good for years. It's like,
yeah.
I just did a podcast episode on, tech and the difficulty that midlife gals have with tech, and, there's so much mindset drama around technology, but the bottom line is when we grew up, a fridge lasted 30 years.
Hmm.
That's not so anymore.
No. And it can be quite intimidating because, you know, we have that 30-year fridge kind of programmed into us.
100%.
And the other thing I think that's challenging specifically around tech, at least for me, maybe other women will feel the same way, is when I was starting my career way back in the early 80s, computers were just coming into the office environment and sitting down to work at your desktop with DOS. Remember DOS?
Yep.
That was work. And then you left that and you went out and you had fun out there. So I have this old mindset that sitting down at the computer is work. And when you have to do all your shopping online and all your communication online, and it's hard to separate out now what is work and what is fun because it's all blurred together. So an older woman doing a tech business, I had to really kind of figure out where my boundaries are and where my working hours would be and when I would hold my smartphone in my hand. I have another wee story. My marketing coach said to me, "You really have to get professional photographs," which I don't like my picture taken. So I hired a photographer and we were going to go out to the woods to shoot a couple pictures, nice woodsy shots. And I left my phone behind because she was driving the car and I didn't want my smartphone in these photographs. And she looked at me like I had three heads. She's about 20 years younger than me. She said, "You're going out the door without your phone?" And I said, "Well, I don't need it. You're driving." She goes, "Okay, you're weird. You're just weird."
It's so funny that you didn't even think you were gonna take some selfies to put on social or something.
Yeah, no, and that never occurred to me. So you can see the age gap that we're talking about here.
That's
But that's the
hilarious.
challenge as an older entrepreneur in this modern world is that um, I just don't think about using my phone as an extension of my corporal body the way that the younger people do.
Yeah.
But I'm learning.
Yeah, definitely. And another thing you mentioned in your notes is that the physical and mental effects of hormone changes left you easily distracted by pleasures. What did you
Yeah.
mean by that?
Oh, all right, we're gonna dish it all now. I teach yoga, which is all about meditation and being present moment focused. But every afternoon by happy hour, guess who was downing? I don't even want to tell you how much wine. And a lot of that peaked during COVID because there was nothing else
Yeah.
to really do. There was,
Mhm.
I think a lot of people experienced that, but it was just very unmindful behavior. It also was, a lifetime of using food as a distraction, a reward, soothing, all that kind of stuff. So when I say pleasures, I kind of mean those intense pleasures that aren't organically natural, that really kick up the dopamine hit and make it very, very difficult not to follow cravings. So the hormonal maelstrom that hits during perimenopause and menopause leaves us particularly vulnerable to dopamine hits because it's one of the ways to kind of distract us from some of the pain that we're going through. Because it is painful to make the change. All metamorphosis involves some pain, right?
Yeah, and you're
Yeah.
going into something you're going from what you know to what you don't know.
Yeah.
And of course that's scary. Now when I'm fascinated with the minutia of your decision making. So what was it that finally helped you see what you were doing, notice what you were thinking, and appreciate the disconnect between the woman you were becoming and the woman you were?
I think, in terms of the pleasurable behaviors and the
Yeah.
distractions, I think when those started to have a net negative effect, when they really started to drag me down. So part of it was alcohol does exacerbate hot flashes. It
Mhm.
also is not your friend if you're trying to lose weight as a midlife woman. It was also and at that point in my journey, I hadn't really delved into the mindset piece enough to understand what a distraction it can be from your creative energies.
Mm.
At that point, it was just really, I'm kind of embarrassed to admit, very basic. I needed to stop the hot flashes any way I could. I needed to lose a little bit of weight any way I could. And I think it was starting to clue in that I didn't want to be the kind of person, even though it might have been fun to have the whoop whoop party, I didn't necessarily wanna be known for the party girl anymore.
Mm.
I just it just didn't fit anymore.
Oh, so that is who you were known as, the party girl.
Oh, absolutely, I'm very fun.
Well, I don't think you're not fun, but I can see that there was an identity shift
Yeah,
happening here. Yeah,
yeah, yeah, there's this,
fascinating.
peaceful, meditative, like Om Shanti kind of person, and then there's this, give me a bottle of sparkling wine and a good dance beat, and I'm on the floor all night. Woohoo! You know? So where am I? So I think this process has really helped me bring those things together and figure out, how to be who I really am in the world. So I'm still a party girl in a lot of ways. My yoga classes are never those serene, zen. They're always lots of interaction, lots of social connection, lots of bonding. So I'm still a party girl at heart, but I think I'm definitely living more congruent with my core values now.
Yeah, and it sounds like you're much more intentional, so party girl doesn't mean what it used to mean, you
Exactly.
know? Yeah, and I wanted to ask you what, the breakthrough was for you with your mindset around cravings and not satisfying your cravings. anymore.
Oh, that's still an ongoing process. I mean, these are things that are heavily wired into our
Hmm.
primal survival brain, right? But I think when I started seeing the results on the scale, I felt quite empowered and thought, yeah, like this really works. So I have some specific strategies around working through cravings. Luckily, as a yoga therapist, I already had a fairly good background in nervous system regulation, but that is the key. It is understanding our primal wiring when that part of the brain comes online, what's going on for you, and how to create strategies in your life so that your executive function holds sway more often. Because if you don't, like you say, be intentional, 95% of the time, you're just gonna act out of instinct. Not much different
Yeah.
than my dog.
And did you catch a thought that surprised you? Your go-to
Yeah.
thought that took you down that road? What was it?
There were many thoughts. I have many of them all journaled, but the thing that surprised me the most was how lonely I was. Deeply lonely.
Wow.
Yeah. I don't know if anyone else is mother of adult children and can relate to this, but both of my boys left home at 18, which I'm extremely proud of them. They're independent. They've never bounced back home. They're both, they're in their late 30s now and they're doing amazing. But as a mom, I was like, but, but I'm not done yet. And that reverberated for a decade or more.
Mm,
So I was busy trying to catch my breath. And because I've always worked, I'm a modern girl, the whole phrase around empty nest didn't fit well with what I thought I was. And so I never really acknowledged the deep level of grief and loneliness that my children had flown the nest.
you're
So
not
I had
alone. You're not alone. I have heard that from many, many people. But one of the things that I coach around on this is this idea of the way we focus on this phase being over instead of the new phase of developing intentional relationships with our young adults and adult children. That phase, if everyone lives a long, healthy life, goes on way longer than the 18 years.
well, my boys have lived out of the home longer than they lived with me.
Look at
Which is
that,
kind
right?
of mind-blowing, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think I'm not old enough for that, but it's just something about craving the babies, craving the little people that hung off your every word, that you had all that tactile. So if you asked about the thought, I think that was what I really had to go back and admit that I needed to create strategies and practices in my life that gave me the oxytocin hit, the serotonin hit, that feeling of coziness, community, being part of a tribe, safety. It's fundamentally feeling safe.
Yeah,
And you
that's
can do that for yourself once you understand.
you can, and a lot of people get a dog for that reason. There is a thing called the empty nest dog. I, found this really funny company, that did some advertising talking about how dogs are better than your kids for some of those reasons because it's unconditional love. They wanna hug you and touch you and cuddle and snuggle and all of that. If I went up to my boys who are in their late 20s, 30s, early 30s and, like, gave them more than a hug every now and again, if I was, like, hanging on them the way I'm hanging on my dog, there would be a problem.
And I am stupid over my dog. Maybe I'll send you a picture. You can put it in the show notes
I
of
would
my
love that.
Natalie.
I do love the role that dogs play in our
Yeah.
lives for sure.
Yeah.
So, have you noticed tell me about this intersection of about being a woman who's an entrepreneur at this age. So, entrepreneurship and being an older woman. What have you noticed? Like, do you associate with a lot of younger women or like the tech? Do you feel old around tech in particular because of some of the things we talked about already? What comes up for you in terms of aging and entrepreneurship?
Well, let's talk the tech first. I do find I'm a little out of my element because I have not embraced social media to the degree that you kind of would ideally do in this online marketing world. So Instagram, for example, was something I'd never actually been on before. So that makes me feel old. I really don't understand TikTok, and I don't think I'm gonna try.
Me neither. No interest.
So there are those kinds of barriers just because social media is not part of my world.
Mhm.
Um, but then in terms of being a 62-year-old woman and starting a new business, most of my peer group is like, "Are you crazy, girlfriend? What do you mean you can't just pick up and go away for the weekend? What do you mean you can't just, like, go out kayaking with us?" But you know what, Susie, what I always tell myself, because there is quite a conflict in my mind about that because, I feel like FOMO, I'm missing out on the fun. But I have to keep telling myself quite intentionally and consciously that I did, as I mentioned earlier, take a few years just to play and just see what was going on with retirement, and everyone's busy most of the time. You know, the odd time someone contacts me and says, "Do you wanna go do X or Y?" And I say, "Sorry, I'm working." That's not the majority of the time. The majority of the time, I was sitting home waiting for the phone to ring, and that did not feel good. I
But the
didn't
other
like that.
thing the other thing, Cheryl, is that if you really wanted to go away for a week, you could create that in your business.
Oh, yeah.
If you really wanted to take 1 week off a month, you could do that. If you
Oh,
wanted
yeah.
to take a month off, you could plan around that too. Like, I think a lot of what happens is we just kinda happen in to the operating system that kept us going for most of our lives, rather than really thinking what is the midlife operating system that is really workable and desirable for me now. And I've had a lot of clients tell me that the morning is really sacred to them. They really want to focus on their morning routine. That means they want to start later. Or other people don't mind getting up early in the morning, but they want to finish at 3. Or some people, I've heard some people that want to do like find a retreat atmosphere just for themselves once a month or once a quarter so they can do some planning. So they take themselves to a nice hotel that's local even and just disappear for a couple of days with nobody bugging them, but there is a spa on site. So there's all kinds of things you can do. One time I thought I was brilliant, but since then I've heard of other people also doing this. I hosted a retreat in Palm Desert just before COVID. And I'm just I was beside myself being there. I love the whole vibe of that Palm Springs area with mid-century modern and whole Frank Sinatra and all that stuff. I was born in the wrong decade. But anyway, I had this retreat, and then when my retreaters left, my mastermind buddies came. So I had the place for a week. And so then we were able to mastermind for 3 days together with some of my colleagues, and I just thought, "Oh my gosh, this really is a cool thing that I could have never done when I had my job."
Yeah, absolutely, and
Just really
I
opened up more.
I'm just starting to, kind of open up to some of these possibilities, like you say, shed the old
Yeah.
employment kind of rules when we're tied from 9 to 5, because that's when the customers would come through the door type thing. So I am trying to planning I found is my superpower, and so, you know, the first hour on Monday mornings is important to schedule everything for the week and, like, planning out quarters. I mean, wow, I never did that in any of my other businesses. But I in my wise years, which that's the gift of midlife, is I see it's not, compartmentalizing or constraining to plan. It's actually empowering and freeing to plan because then you can just let it go and you know it's gonna get done.
Well, yeah, if you can commit to yourself to do it. So some people struggle with that part of it, right? But if you've got those 2 parts, the planning in advance and the committing to the thing, to committing to yourself, then you can do anything.
And that's something I would encourage midlife women to think about is that commitment to themselves because I
Huge.
see it amongst my friends and my clients that they commit to everyone else. They would never stand me up for a lunch date or they would
Correct.
never, you know, bail on a volunteer commitment or if their kids need babysitting. But then when it comes to, well, I'm supposed to do a 5-minute meditation. Oh, I didn't have time. So I have this imagery, I don't know if it's helpful or not, but I see this little girl sitting on the front porch on the cement stoop, waiting for someone to come take her for ice cream. And I didn't show up to take her for ice cream. Can you imagine the pain and the hurt for that little girl? And I just see myself as that little girl. When I make a commitment now, I will not let her down. And that has
Exactly.
been really, really comforting to me to feel as though I'm kind of parenting myself, I guess, I don't know, but to just feel as though I won't And I have to admit, this year's been very challenging. If I had known what I was signing up for, just like having kids probably, I don't know that I would have done it. But now that I'm in and I've made this commitment, I I won't quit. But I have to admit, like, I wish I were seeing more results and better sales and, I was just taking off and I'm so successful and all that kind of stuff. So I'm afraid I'm not that kind of guest who's a superstar and is going to be so inspiring that way.
Well, you are a superstar, but that's just a different way to measure your
Yeah.
success. I mean, there's
But
a lot
I
of ways to
will
measure your success that you'd even believe you were successful. You know what I mean?
and I would say that I would encourage women that even if you're not seeing the metrics that you want to see, if you're showing up for yourself and doing what you said you were going to do and keep trying, I think that's more important than any amount of sales, you know?
Well, and there is some research around that when it comes to grit and persistence and success. And what I often encourage people to do, it's a really fun exercise, is just go to the Google and look up successful people over 50. And you start reading the stories of names you know and love, and you're just going to be overwhelmed with how many people struggled because success doesn't come to people who don't struggle typically. You have to, oh, you got to work really hard at it.
Yeah.
And, how we work hard is a different story, but showing up for yourself and being persistent and not quitting, for sure.
And
Exactly.
sometimes I bring this, if you think about when I started in my career in the very early 80s, we were in Canada, we were in the heart of a very deep recession, the first one since the Great Depression in the 1930s. So work was, you weren't allowed to show any emotion. You had to like stay late, like it was a very male dominated energy. And so a lot of those ideas about what work should look like are still in my brain.
Yeah.
And so the world has changed a lot in the last 40, 50 years. And so has the nature of what work looks like. So now I need to stop bringing that kind of male grit sort of competitive sort of energy to my work and be kinder and be more and that allows creativity to flow too. It's got to be about creating something that's going to make the world a better place. That's going to be I have a very strong belief in the concept of dharma, which is a word that comes from yoga, meaning kind of like your life's purpose. So I have to see this business really as sharing that from that energy. So if I start getting really grippy and aggressive with what I'm trying to do, then I'm losing that connection to my heart energy, which
Mm,
is really
yeah.
important to me. And maybe women who are older can identify with that.
Yeah, that's so powerful. Another one of the things that popped into my mind as you were talking is one limiting belief I found in my own brain about what was possible in terms of my work day, things like that, was this idea of being a flexible, portable business. And what that means for someone like me who can't stand the winter and wants to get out of here when the snow starts to fall. And I never thought that I'd be a snowbird when I wasn't an entrepreneur. And I don't know that I'll be a snowbird, but I do see myself taking, you know, 4 weeks minimum out of here in the winter at some point regularly. So I
Yeah.
don't know exactly what that'll look like, but I can do that. But my automatic go to thought is I'm stuck here, but I'm not stuck here. My husband's job isn't portable, but mine is. So I don't know what
Bye,
that'll
buddy.
look like, but it'll look like me not being here some of the time in the winter, that's for sure.
And I think even taking that another step is sometimes I think, is this a real business? Because there is no customers coming through the door. There's no actual products on a shelf. I mean, that's a bit of a mindset shift from
Yeah.
the business world I started in. So this is all intellectual property. It's all virtual meetings. It's kind of blows your mind when you stop and think about it, right?
It does. My first job, we had a shared computer at a station. My second job, we had a mouse. I had a mouse at my desk and I had a door with I had a door. And to have a mouse, I don't, we don't even remember what it was like. It's so hard to remember what it was like to have a computer without a mouse. My kids wouldn't relate to that at all. But I do still have the fear of a floppy disk blowing up and disintegrating, and I can't find my stuff, or I did something stupid and it all went away. There
Oh,
is a
yeah.
lot of that deep programming for sure.
Yeah, yeah. We have the nervousness around computers and tech because we are of a generation where you could hit one key and lose all of your data, right?
Right.
Yeah, and in the era of cloud and online, you don't even have to worry about upgrading your software anymore. Remember when you used to have to go to the office supply store and buy a new box with your
Yeah.
upgraded software? Yeah.
Yeah, things are definitely changing. So, one thing you mentioned in your notes was that being an older female entrepreneur, you're fully committed to your own growth. That just made me smile. What exactly were you talking about with that note?
Well, I think in previous businesses, especially when I had the kids at home, but also even long after they were gone, I think I was still prioritizing family. Not that family isn't incredibly important, but I was still letting a lot of those old roles kind of really dominate. For example, say Thanksgiving dinner. You know, I would be the one to host Thanksgiving dinner, and that would involve 3 or 4 days of preparation and everything. And so that would kind of clear off the calendar and be the priority, you know? And if I couldn't do that for my family, I would feel like I was not, you know, not really a good mom or not really good family player. So a lot of that energy has been reprioritized. And of course, everyone's going to say logically, yes, but I'm quite surprised to discover that everybody's quite happy without me running around trying to make everything perfect for everyone else. So I think that's been a big shift of when I can say in at this age, I've just said, I'm the number one priority, will not be distracted. And it's amazing how people are very supportive about that. Now, I don't have daughters, I have 2 sons, but I think I'm even proud of myself for becoming a role model for them, even though they're not women, because I think my sons are very happy to see me happy. I think it's very important for our adult children to see us modeling how our older ages can be dynamic and important and contributory and exciting, and I think they're happy to see the passion that I have for life.
Another thing you mentioned was that you're not as nervous to make mistakes at this age. This really resonated with me because, as women growing up and working and everything, I also remember being so afraid of making mistakes. And when you're a solopreneur, you kind of have to learn that it's okay to make mistakes because it's impossible not to.
That's been a tough part of the journey for me to because I most people don't care, like, if you flub a little bit when you're recording a podcast or something, or if you put out a spelling mistake, they're happy to help you and correct you. But in my own brain, I was, like, so judgmental over that, and I would make it mean something it doesn't mean, like, "You shouldn't be in this business. You don't deserve this role." So now I've learned to catch those kinds of thoughts, to be much kinder to myself, and to say, "You know what? If I don't make at least 3 mistakes today, I haven't tried."
You haven't tried
I'm
hard
not
enough.
I'm
Exactly.
not putting out enough material. If I'm not making mistakes, that means I'm not working hard enough. You know,
Yeah.
we've been talking a lot about the different challenges of midlife, being our age, but there is one thing I thought that's a major plus, and it kind of relates to the question you just asked. When we were young, work ethic was really important, showing up on time, putting in your full time, being present. We didn't have the distraction of social media while we were working at work. We learned the value of a full day's work. So I do believe I bring, as a mature woman, that kind of work ethic to the job. So if you combine that with the mindset stuff and the freedom that comes with midlife, we're really powerhouses.
Agreed.
Yeah.
That's a great perspective. Yeah, I love that. What would you say is next for you? Like, what are you really looking to do in your business?
Well, I would like to see the sales come. I would like to see the metrics. It's slow, and I am learning every day. So I would really like to see that in that moment I described in Florida when I stepped on the scale. I would like one of those moments, please, if the universe is listening, just to open up the graph or whatever and say, "Honey, look, we sold a bunch."
Yeah.
So that's my next, what I'm really focused on whenever I'm doing my, for example, my yoga nidra meditation at night, and they say, "What's your intention or your goal or whatever?" Yeah, it's always, I'm ready for the six-figure business now.
Well,
Um,
so you built the capacity, and
yeah,
now this is the obvious next step.
yeah, obviously. And then I think there are smaller goals coming up. Learning a second language. That's something I've dabbled in, but I've never really made the commitment. Relearning a musical instrument because that's something that I let fade, and then seeing where else this business could go. I'm focused on one kind of area right now, and that's the helping women lose weight and feel stronger and sleep better. But I wonder where else this could go, and offering retreats and getaways, it would be a really exciting option too. So there's
Your
lots of
work is
things.
so conducive for that. I mean, so many people wanna go on a yoga retreat anyway, right?
Yeah, yeah. So I've had a few small yoga retreats, but I can see this would really scale quite nicely.
Mhm.
And with my background in travel, we could all come together.
Yeah, it sure can. And I can't end this interview without asking you specifically for one little gem piece of advice for the midlife gal who is so super frustrated about midlife weight gain.
I
How
get
can
it.
you what have you noticed with all your clients?
I think the biggest myth that we suffer from, and it was really perpetuated in the 80s when most of us were coming of age, eat less, move more. And we really feel pressured. So if there's actually, it's a two-part answer, sorry. Ditch the cardio. You do not need the cardio you think you do. You're wasting your time. You're leaving your joints more susceptible to injury, blah, blah, blah. So ditch the cardio, start your strength training. And second of all, you do not have to starve yourself in order to shed a couple pounds. You can be much more kindly to yourself and you never have to feel hungry.
Mm, so good. So good, Cheryl. Thank you for that. How can we get a hold of you?
I have a website, Cheryl Gordon YT. The YT stands for yogatherapy.com. I also have a podcast as well. I just started this year, but it's been amazing because I've met women like you, Suzy, and I love podcasts myself. So it's fun to be part of that. It's called the Midlife Reset. And so I'm on the social media too, Facebook and Instagram, much to my chagrin.
Amazing. Well, Cheryl, thank you so very much for joining us today. I really love the way that you are really leaning into your calling. Like you, I don't like to say calling because it just sounds kind of weird, but it's that inner voice, you're meant to do this work and you're doing it. And that for me and other women listening, it's just so exciting to see a happy midlife gal doing her thing.
Well, thank you so much for having me on. I had a blast.
All right. That is it for now. If you're listening and loving what you hear, please like and subscribe. Reviews are great too and much appreciated. And if you're a woman in the middle who's 50 or over and an entrepreneur and would also like to come on the show, please go to www.midlifeinterviews.com and fill out an application. We'd love to have you on to share your story. Thanks so much for listening. It's never too late for you to put yourself on the agenda. I'm Suzy Rosenstein, and I'll talk to you again soon. Now, real quick, before we say goodbye, if you are connecting with the show and are finally ready to make some changes to regret-proof your life, I want to invite you to apply for the Women in the Middle Academy. It's my transformational midlife group coaching program to help you get clear about what's getting in your way so you can get on with the good stuff. Head over to www.womeninthemiddleacademy.com. Talk soon.